Yeah.
So while I talk about probate a lot and have Probate Weekly as my main podcast, one of the ways to avoid probate is having a great plan. And one key is there's having an attorney who knows what he's doing. One of those attorneys is Daniel Roberts, who is in the Walnut Creek area. Daniel, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Good morning, Bill.
Give me a little background. How about your practice? What do you do on a regular basis? How do you help customers maximize their assets?
So primarily, I look at trust design, and trusts are incorporated as sort of a full-scale estate plan. So we do trusts, wills, powers of attorney for financial affairs, as well as for healthcare and the like. And then we get into the more advanced planning. There are specific kinds of trusts that you need in specific situations that do different kinds of things. Some create tax efficiencies, some create asset protection. And so it's really all with under the umbrella of trying to preserve and maximize long-term family wealth.
I'm sure you see clients come to you with a plan they made elsewhere that has a problem. And what do you see as the most common mistakes or problem areas that customers need to correct when they come to you with an estate plan they've done somewhere else?
So estate planning and trust design is really evolving. And in a lot of ways, it hasn't changed that much since the 1300s. And historically, you have spouses arrive and they have an estate plan that gives everything to the survivor between them. And the problem there is that people are living many, many years longer than they were 50 or certainly 100 years ago. And so your odds of surviving your spouse and getting remarried in the next 40 years after they die is a lot higher. So if you have a plan that gives everything that's to the surviving spouse, you end up facing the risk of them giving everything that you've worked so hard for to their surviving spouse. And so what you want to do is design a trust so that you can bifurcate the assets to really protect the half of the first spouse to die. And that's so that's one of the main problems. And the other is just not thinking through sibling dynamics. You don't always want to make the most responsible child the trustee and really the ringleader once you both pass away, because it can create a lot of strife. Same thing with unequal distributions, that even if you have a really wealthy child and a relatively less successful child, giving them vastly unequal amounts can really create a lot of bitterness. And so it's not the wrong thing to do, but there are ways to sort of offset the hard feelings by both talking about it, and really there are lots of ways to explain yourself so that people understand why a certain action was taken with respect to how you decided to dispose of your estate.
Yes, it strikes me, the more I've been involved in this space, that people think of attorneys as strictly on the legal knowledge, technical knowledge, but it seems to me the most successful ones are very adept, as you just kind of covered, on the soft part, the relationships and the interplays and the dynamics of dealing with human beings rather than just pieces of paper. So how do you, as an attorney, how do you, is that just comes with experience, or is that something that you work at regularly? How do you improve those skills, or how do you make sure you're delivering, that experience? You're an attorney, people think of you just filing papers and arguing to a judge, but I think it's a lot more than that.
Absolutely. Well, there's a reason I left gunslinging and really heavy duty litigation as a full-time occupation. It was really because I like people. I like becoming, really, for the purposes of what we're doing, becoming essentially sort of almost a part of the family, you know, a trusted advisor to everyone, and really understanding where they're coming from. And and I'm not afraid to give advice that I see that something they need to hear, when it's something that I think they need to hear. You know, the most common of which that people don't always like is well, you know, what do you think about getting married? You've been together for 35 years, and there's, you know, if nothing else, there are tax advantages to finally sealing the deal and getting married. And, you know, so there's a lot of those kinds of dynamics that I'll step my feet into, really, because I care about my clients, and I want to help them write sort of in a lot of ways, it's a lasting love note to their family, to create a, you know, a legacy like that.
I think here on the head, you know, my personal involvement, my father was an attorney and he prepared a plan, but this goes back a long ways. He passed and left my mother, you know, taken care of. And she ended up remarrying to, of all things, an estate planning attorney, who was
Wow.
who was kind of affiliated with my father. They kind of knew each other and in the same circles, and he was a widower as well.
Hmm.
He helped her redo her plan. And fortunately, because she got sick and needed to use the resources to take care of her. And I know there's a big difference between having resources available and not, and made the last of her life much higher quality than it might have been otherwise.
Hmm.
And it all worked out. And I think I saw the advantage on that side, and I've seen with other family members, it didn't work out as well. So I think you're
Sure.
right on that. You know, and this is the hard part to explain to customers. It's not just going along and filling out the forms, though there is filling out the forms. That's important and part of your job. But you hit it on the head. The more you're part of the family, the better you can write the plan that's going to work for them.
Right. Yeah.
So here we are in 2023, and we're kind of post-COVID, or are we, or is it coming back? But as of today, what's the practice look like as far as estate planning? Do you meet with clients exclusively? Do you combine in person with online? Are you strictly online? How do you manage the intake with the customers in those relationships?
It depends. If people are really nearby, I'm happy. You know, I really enjoy sitting down with people in person. And if they're within about a 2-hour drive, we say, you know, let's at least plan to do the final signing and, you know, document execution in person. But a lot of the exchange that happens, you know, up to that point can be virtual. Spend enough time on a Zoom with people, you can get, you know, a sense of who they are, and vice versa. So, you know, I think that I don't see many people just relying on in-person contact at all. I certainly haven't heard of it in recent years. It's just been too hard and too convenient to be able to do, you know, meet virtually.
Well, I also think it helps you and the industry save time, and you have to charge a customer for time. And the fact you can save it, I think, has had a positive effect either on, you know, your profits or your ability to lower prices and give to customers at a cheaper price. I know it used to drive customers crazy in going to court, that an attorney would have to charge for travel time in and out, and then waiting in the hallways. It'd be like a 4-hour for a 5-minute, you know, talk to the judge. And now it's a Zoom call, and the customer gets billed less as a result. And the attorney spends more time, I think, not just doing billable work, but doing work that contributes to the customer's experience. And that's where I think the video comes in as an advantage. So, well, good. And then you're located in Walnut Creek?
Yeah. And my partner is in San Francisco, so we service all the Bay Area. And
Both sides. East and west. So that was up in Los Angeles.
East and
So
west. And we'll take meetings down in the peninsula too, Silicon Valley area too.
fantastic. Well, good. Well, I'll put your contact information in our description down below. Daniel, thank you so much for the chance to chat with you today. Really appreciate you.
Absolutely. My pleasure. My pleasure, Bill. Thanks a lot.